kill the boy and let the man be born. That's how we transition into mature masculinity, right? Well, not exactly. At least not if you want to develop into a complete, integrated and whole individual like Carl Jung advised. So I want to explain to you why you shouldn't kill the boy. If you didn't recognize the quote, it comes from the TV series Game of Thrones. This old guy, I'm forgetting the name, says to one of the main characters, Jon Snow, kill the boy, Jon Snow, let the man be born. And of course, the old guy was talking about the boy within. Now, for some reason, this clip, even though it comes from an episode that aired 6 or 7 years ago, at least, this clip is going viral. Why? It's because the question of masculinity is one of the hottest topics of our society. So naturally, content on masculinity is likely to go viral. But it's more than content. It's again, one of the most important conversations happening in our society today. And also one of the most divisive. So I want to bring some nuance here. Killing the boy in order for men to be born, or killing the boy and letting the man be born, is in some way extremely valid point that covers a big portion of the problem of masculinity. But misunderstanding it and taking it too far can just lead in a different kind of disaster. Let me explain. Why is it relevant to think of this idea of killing the boy and letting the man be born? Because since recently in human history, we have had this issue of men failing to transition from boyhood into adulthood. Why is it recently? Because prior to Industrial Revolution, human society looked way differently, and every society had rites of passage or rituals of initiation that were used to bring forth the psychological transformation from boyhood into adulthood. And it was more specifically for men or for young males to transition from boyhood into adulthood. So again, rites of passage, rituals of initiation. They stop existing gradually, but very quickly, with Industrial Revolution, because the human society starts looking differently, the family starts looking differently, and we, on a family level, it's not only that a boy is spending less and less time with his father, because prior to Industrial Revolution, the boy would be spending way more time with his father and growing up with his father, but also with the community elders. So a young man was surrounded by multiple older, mature men that took up mentor roles in his life, not just his father. As we progress with Industrial Revolution, there is complete absence of the elders, so the concept of community elders doesn't exist. Who listening to this has 5, 6, 7, 15 older men who raised him besides his father? Who? No one listening to this. Unless you've been living in some village far away from civilization, and in that case you've been very fortunate. In any case, the boy doesn't have the elders and is spending less and less and less and less time with his father. So we have complete shift in how the growing up of a male child looks like, and we have absence of or lack of initiation rituals and rites of passages that were meant to actually facilitate psychological transformation into adulthood. So what do we have? We have, let's say, overall wounded men. Great book on the topic, James Hollis, Under Saturn's Shadow, on the wounding and healing of men. Difficult because it's painful when someone so precisely analyzes the situation of men. So we have the wounding of men as a whole, as a half of humanity has been deeply wounded by the absence of something that was throughout history integral for their growth and development psychologically. So men as whole are wounded, but some men somehow stumble their way into adulthood, while we have men who never even stumble their way into adulthood. So maybe they are adults physically, maybe they have a job, maybe they're in some way participating in the adult life, but on many levels there is that failure to launch into adult life. One of the Jungian concepts that is becoming increasingly popular on this topic is a Puer Aeternus, so the eternal boy. You have people like Dr. K, the popular mental health YouTuber and streamer. He's been talking about Puer Aeternus. Of course, many other less popular but maybe more competent, at least in Jungian psychology, thinkers have been talking about Puer Aeternus in recent years. And again, the greatest Jungian alive, James Hollis, you can read his stuff on that as well. Or Marie-Louise von Franz, who wrote the book The Problem of Puer Aeternus. In any case, we have this problem of the man-child, the eternal boy, the Peter Pan syndrome. What does that mean? That means that the boy is still there as a dominant energy in one's psyche. What was the role actually of initiation process or the initiation ritual or the rite of passage? It was in some way to symbolize or simulate death. So there was some sort of dying involved in the rite of passage or the initiation ritual. And sometimes the ritual was extremely, or often it was in certain tribes, extremely painful and on the verge of death even. So there is a symbolical death and dying precisely to symbolize a shift and leaving behind a part of oneself to transition again into adulthood and into new life. So symbolically there is a lot of relevance to the concept of death and dying in that process. Your old self is dying in the process of transitioning from boyhood to manhood, from child masculinity to mature masculinity. However, to say that we must kill the boy and become fully a man is a great mistake. Let me just give one example of a great fictional, of course fictional, because those are the best resources that we have in this case. A great fictional example of an initiation process or initiation ritual or a rite of passage. Right, a rite of passage in this case is a more valid term. Dragon Ball Z, Piccolo taking Gohan to that place. I don't know how to call it. It's not a jungle because it doesn't have a lot of trees, but he takes him to some remote place in nature surrounded by wild beasts and wants to leave him there alone. And Gohan starts crying. He doesn't want to be left alone, but Piccolo, as a mentor figure, because Goku is dead, spoiler alert for anyone, Piccolo is there, the mentor figure. And Piccolo is leaving him there basically, he could die there. But that's the real initiation ritual and the rite of passage. Danger that is supposed to transform a boy into a man. And he says something along the lines of, you will laugh at your fears when you discover actually how strong you are. And he just leaves him there, a scared boy. But when he returns, he finds physically still a boy, but psychologically, and in terms of self-trust and self-belief and self-reliance and self-confidence, he finds a man, at least a young man. So perfect example of a rite of passage. However, now to bring it to our modern age, what does it mean to kill a boy? To kill, to kill the boy within. It is to make a misstep in this process of transitioning into adulthood, and we see that we could say that it's an overcorrection. That's the overly serious, overly rational, extremely important, overly rational and usually cynical man. The man who has completely left behind and forgotten what is like to play, what's like to have fun, to dream, to daydream, to dance. He needs to get hammered, drunk to dance. For him, hearing me talk about Piccolo and Gohan is, what is this guy talking about? He's talking about cartoons. Whoever thought about it, you kill the boy. You kill the boy. If you don't see value in stories, and if you find the problem, if you find a problem in the fact that a story is presented through drawing rather than your favorite actor, you've killed the boy. You are handicapped. So we have either the Puer Aeternus, the boy who refuses to grow up, or we have a man who in the process of growing up actually killed the boy, or try to kill the boy and cut him off. But because you cannot actually kill the boy. That's the point. Here is the thing. He didn't kill the boy. He did his best to suppress him. And you know what the boy is doing? Because the boy is inside. The boy is trying to kill him. How about that? You try to kill the boy is going to try to kill you. He's going to try to kill you because in a way that he's going to make you miserable. He's going to make you depressed. He's going to make you cynical. He's going to make you hate life. And sometimes he's going to drive you to actually harm yourself and end your life if you want to kill the boy. It is still this energy in you. It cannot remain the dominant energy like in Puer Aeternus, but it has to be carried. Again, it is the source of play, fantasy, the ability to dream, creativity, so important for creativity. Finding joy in life. However, if that is all that we are guided by, then we have the Puer Aeternus who is up in head in clouds and doesn't want to deal with the mundane responsibilities and tasks of life. So for the Puer Aeternus, he always has to be offered some extremely interesting task to engage in and something that is really worth his time because, again, his head is in the clouds. He doesn't want to deal with the boring stuff of adult, real daily life. The man who has tried to kill the boy is the opposite. He lacks joy, pleasure, lacks the ability to play. And that leads, again, to what? To depression, to addiction, to anger issues, and even to suicidal thoughts or acting on those thoughts. So, trying to kill the boy. I'm glad I corrected myself that you actually cannot kill the boy. But trying to kill the boy will lead to boy rebelling against you. And you will have one hell of a conflict inside of you. James Hillman, another great Jungian psychologist, he said, you are not the boy, you are not the boy. Because also, let's not take it into the direction of New Age Bali spirituality, where you think you are the boy. Oh, I'm still this boy, and then everything I'm experiencing in life, I'm always leading with consulting the boy. No, I mean the boy has to be consulted, but you are not the boy. So James Hillman says it like this: you are not the boy. You cannot get rid of the boy. You have a boy. So that energy is in you. You have that boy. And James Hillman even talks about fathering the boy within. So that boy, this is the complexity and beauty of the human experience. You maybe heard about the expression, son is the father of man, or child is the father of man. But then the man that was given birth by the boy, then that man needs to father the boy. Again, it's so interesting to be human, right? So James Hillman talks about fathering the boy, meaning the boy stays there within you, inside you, like this psychological energy. We could even say it's psychological energy, it's archetypal energy, it's spiritual energy. However, it is there. You have the boy. You are not the boy. It's just part of you. But you cannot kill him. You cannot remove him. You cannot abandon him. When you abandon him, when you try to do it, again, it results in miserable life, miserable experience, because the boy will rebel. How would you act if you were a boy right now? You wouldn't be happy. If someone tried to discard you, if that's even proper expression, discard. So we don't want to be the Puer Aeternus, but we don't want to be the cynical, boring, hyper-rational man. Again, emphasis on hyper-rational. Carl Jung talked about this so much. One of the main sicknesses of our modern age is hyper-rationality. He talked about how the hyper-rational man doesn't understand how much his hyper-rationality that he considers intelligence, which is far from it, he doesn't see how much it actually harms him in his inability to live a symbolical life. So again, what I would challenge you, if you don't consider yourself Puer Aeternus, you think that you might be in danger of falling on this other end of the spectrum, where you have pushed the boy away a bit too much. When something triggers you as this is childish, this is cringe, this is for women and children but not for me, that's your sign right there. I'm imagining the Leonardo DiCaprio meme from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he's like doing like this, and then pointing to the screen like, that's you. When you notice that you feel strong resistance towards something, because it's childish, it's cringe, maybe it's too soft, it's not rational enough, it's dealing with too much fantasy and abstract thinking and emotions, like it's not rooted in facts, it's not rational. All of those are signs. Okay, stop for a moment, engage in that thing. Why cannot you do that? Okay, stay in that experience for a little bit, see how much can you engage, try to engage a little bit. And then apart from that, the challenge for you is to actually seek out to engage in activities, hobbies that you maybe were interested in the past and then you abandoned, or to find new ones. So, as a matter, if it's playing a game, a sport, if it's drawing, if it's reading comic books, if it's whatever it is. But if you are someone who abandoned that is your task. For the Puer Aeternus, it's the opposite. If you are recognizing yourself or recognizing Puer Aeternus in yourself or yourself in Puer Aeternus, your task is to embrace the often boring, harsh reality of life. And the harshest reality of life is not major suffering. I mean, we could argue that's the harshest reality of life, but for Puer Aeternus, the harshest reality is facing the fact that life is often boring and life is often mundane and life often involves, just doing some stuff that is way too grounded. I can tell you, I'm a creative person. I, throughout my whole life, tended to spend a lot of time with my head in the clouds. And now someone might think, oh, David is living this wonderful life. He's writing, he's making videos, he's making money doing those things and working with people that he finds interesting, and he's living the life of a creative / intellectual, and this is such a interesting romantic view of life. However, I have to deal with admin work pretty much every day. I need to do taxes. I need to do my laundry. I need to clean my room. I need to cook my meal. not always, but a lot of times, I need to see if my visa is expiring soon. I need to check if my documents are in order. So that's, I'm saying this not to say how I have it difficult or to brag, but to say this is what it means to transition from Puer Aeternus to a adult life and to more mature masculinity as someone who has a tendency for creative and abstract thinking. Because how I am naturally, I was perfectly set up to be Puer Aeternus. Perfectly set up with my natural tendencies, not so much in the way that I was brought up, because I had immense fortune to receive in some way, not maybe the most structured way, but in some way to receive my initiation from my brother. Again, no elders, no real community of men like men of the past, but let's say that I did have some guidance and did experience some harshness that was absolutely necessary to make that transition. And then later I had multiple different further initiation processes that also pushed me a bit further and a bit further and a bit further into what I would consider, I don't dare say, I have achieved full integration, but have definitely pushed me away from potentially being Puer Aeternus and towards, let's say, mature masculinity. However, I did experience a period of being the man who tried to kill the boy, and then arriving at the point of being a man who can get things done, but can also appreciate Piccolo being a mentor to Gohan, and can also appreciate just acting silly, to put it that way, when I feel like it, and enjoying play, enjoying pleasures in life that are not accessible to a hyper-rational, overly serious man who tried to kill the boy. So this is not about me. This is to tell you that I am a living proof to you that these are all states that are not condemning you to one way of life forever. These are all states that can be progressed through. So one last time I will say, if you find yourself relating to the Puer Aeternus, your task is going to be learning how to engage with the mundane, boring, and difficult side of life. While if you're resonating more with the man who tried to kill the boy, your task will be to seek out play, even when you don't feel like it. Seek out different creative experiences, even when you're resisting and cringing at them. Because if you keep rejecting the boy and abandoning the boy and even trying to kill the boy will make life a living hell for you. So I think you wouldn't want to do that. Lastly, both of these opposite ends of extreme deserve their own video. So I will be talking more about this. Maybe this is, just a first step in towards, let's say, first step into this topic. But maybe we have started building foundations of the topic or discussion of masculinity with this one. Let's see where it takes us. But this is something definitely that I would like to talk more with or to all of you. Thank you.